As mentioned earlier, it's good to deburr all the holes that you've drilled in the plate. Just take a larger drill bit and by hand. This knocks off the loose pieces of metal that may have clung to the plate. Okay, now we're ready for some final assembly. Now we're going to put approximately 6 check bowls back in. Now the diagram in the shift improvement kit does show you where those go. We'll zoom in here and get a better picture of where they're going to go. Now, one large ball goes into a very particular spot. That's where the orange ball had come out of. The shift improvement kit does supply a new ball that's a slightly oversized. Now, one check ball did not go back in, and that's marked, as Gerald's pointing out, that one did not go back in. Now let's put the 2 springs and valves back in. Springs in first and valves on top. All right, the gaskets that do come with the kit are all correct. We're going to use 2 bolts that we used in the removal of the valve body. We can use these as guides for aligning the gaskets and the plate onto the valve body. All right, our valve body is ready to be put back in the vehicle. It's very important that you follow any of the tightening specs required for the valve body. I do believe these are approximately 100 inch-pounds or 10 foot-pounds, and our impact gun is set for that. This valve body is very, very touchy in regards to torquing when it goes back in the transmission itself. So follow the recommended procedures in the shop manual, and make sure that the throttle pressure is set correctly once it's all back together. Now we're going to move on to the case. We do have a couple things to do there. So we'll bring a case up. The 2-3 accumulator will be modified, and that's towards the rear of the case. So we're going to remove the one that we have. It does require some snap ring pliers, so you can usually get those or you have them already. We'll remove that. We'll install some new rings. Most of the time you'll find a plastic accumulator piston. Some may be aluminum. Most are plastic at this point, have been replaced. The aluminum ones were original, and most of them scuffed and were not very good. So we went to the plastic, And you might even find some aftermarket ones with multiple rings on them. If you have a standard plastic or a metal one, we're going to replace the small ring with a Teflon. Make sure the ends overlap properly. And the larger ring is actually a metal ring. That's a hook type ring, and just see how that goes together there. There you go. Now a little grease or oil or STP for assembly will make it much easier. You take the butt end of a screwdriver or a light hammer and just kind of tap it in. Put the spring back in and the retainer. I'd like to show you at this point, some of the later transmissions have a different retainer. The later retainer does not have a snap ring or anything, and it just actually sits in there in the pocket. It will tend to fall out, so you can take the 3 outer tabs and bend them out a little bit if you need to. All right, let's put the original cover and snap ring back in, and you're good to go there. And we're all set. Now, installing the valve body again, make sure the throttle pressure is set correctly, and make sure you line up the linkage with the manual valve when you go to put it back in. And that's it. Let's go racing.